What's up, everybody? I'm Scott,
I'm Jason.
and you're listening to the first Liquid Carnage of the summer of 2018.
God, the summer is here. Memorial Day is just passed. We are
Right?
ready for the fun in the
Right?
sun.
We have fun in the sun, man. We just had ourselves a big Labor Day weekend ourselves. Your stepson got married down in Florence, so we got to attend that wedding. That was very nice.
Not only did we get to attend, but Scott, you were the officiant
I
of the.
was I was the officiant. It was a very nice. It was a very nice winery. It wasn't something that I would expect to be down in Florence, Arizona.
No, you know what it reminds me of? And this is going to sound nerdy, but there's a Star Trek The Next Generation episode where they come to a planet that's barren of any life. And there's this little tiny grid on the planet's surface that has like green trees and grass and all this stuff. And that's what it makes me think of. Nothing but desert. And then you come up to a gate and it's got a lake and grass.
Oh yeah. And that's it, because you get to the main. There's I'd say one main intersection of Florence, and if you turn left, you go to the state prison, and if you turn right, you go down the road, you end up here at this winery, and it was literally in the middle of BFE. I mean, let's not mince words, man. It was in the middle of fuck nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Florence, for those of you who've never been to Florence, is famous for having 5 of the biggest state prisons in our state located in Florence.
I mean, in the country, one of the 5 biggest state prisons in the country.
Yeah, well, I mean, Florence is prison, but they have 5. They're the maximum security prison, but then they have 4 other prisons in the city limits that are like minor facilities, but it's all because of Florence.
Oh, I didn't recognize that. See, that's how much time I want to spend in Florence. It's literally halfway between Phoenix and Tucson.
Yeah, and the only thing I would say is people would go to Florence basically to get away. Or to go to this winery, because there's really not much else in Florence.
Yeah, no, if you're going to Florence, you're going to visit someone in prison. Let's be honest.
But, the other thing I think about, though, it's only 30 minutes away from Chandler.
Yeah, on a good day. There's a lot of construction there. And I will tell you this, though. My caravan, because we had the caravan down to the wedding, did find a really cool hole-in-the-wall bar with an amazing burger. And it reminded me of the Boar's Nest from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like you get to that turnoff, right? That turnoff where you hit you start heading into Florence right before the county buildings.
Yeah.
It's a little building in the middle of just by itself out there, and we pulled up there, and I swear to God, man, it was like the Boar's Nest. I expected us to walk in there, and Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane were plotting against them old Duke boys. But you know what? They had great beer prices. They had really good hamburgers, and Dean and I were talking while we were having lunch there that had if we ever had to live in Florence, we would hang out at this bar. Because of the prices, it's dark, it's cold, the food's good, and it's just one of those cool little dive bars.
Wow.
And I just wish I could remember the name, but I'm just calling it the Boar's Nest.
Well, for right now, if you know what the name of that bar is in Florence, please go on to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Liquid Carnage. If you want to producer Scott or Tom and have him tell us, please go to Twitter at liquid_EP.
Yeah.
Either of those locations will get you so we get the name of the bar. So help us out if you can.
Yes. It's on my Instagram page. I just have to go back and look at it. I also did have a chance to have lunch with our executive producer over the weekend, too, on the way back up from Florence. And he took us to a very nice hipster brewery in Scottsdale, McFate. Have you heard of that place?
In Scottsdale, McFate?
Yeah, it's down on Scottsdale Road in McDowell.
Oh, okay. It's a little south of where I am. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little south of where you are. It's not bad food. It's very hipster. But I think our executive producer is kind of a hipster. He likes those craft beers, and he likes the honey cheese pizzas they have there, and the avocado toast. So,
God, this sounds pretty good.
If you
that
talk
sounds
to
really good, actually.
I'm not saying it doesn't, but if you talk to our intern JP, he'll tell you our executive producer is in fact a hipster.
Well, hey, we need hipsters, man. We need the hipsters.
We do. I guess we do. But, it's funny because at almost 40 years old, or 40 years, I forget how old he is. If you have told Tom 20 years ago, in your late 30s, early 40s, you're going to be called a hipster, what would you tell the younger version of you?
Oh, man. What did he say to that?
I believe he flipped me off and finished his beer.
Oh, well, okay. But, because it got me thinking, wow, that's funny, because it got me thinking, too. I'm watching this young couple get married. Sam is 20, he's 29 or 28 this year. Taylor's 25. And it got me thinking, they have their whole lives ahead of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their whole lives ahead of them. But I'm sure that they are going to look back at this date 20 years from now and say, man, I wish I would have done this differently. I wish I would have done that differently based on what they know.
Oh, I'm sure they do, because Lord knows I do that all the time. Like, geez, if I'd have known this way back then, I'd have done things totally different.
It's too bad there's not a time machine that we could go back and tell ourselves what
All
to do
right.
differently.
Oh my God. So let me ask you. That's a great topic for today's show. Let's go back 20 years. So, 20 years ago, that I was 17 years old, going into my senior year of high school.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
So what advice would I give younger me? And 20 years ago, you were about to have your first child.
Yeah, because Alex turns 20 next week. So exactly 20 years ago. In fact, his due date was May 29th, and
Oh, wow.
he missed May 29th. So this was his due date.
Wow. Well, yeah. So maybe that's today's topic. Let's give advice to our younger selves. Now, let's also keep in mind that our younger selves wouldn't have listened because, like most people realize, when you're young and dumb, you think you know everything.
Oh, so maybe that's the first lesson we give ourselves is we don't know shit.
That might be it. That might be it. And I recognize even at 37, I still don't know everything, but I'm a whole lot more willing to learn now.
Yeah, I mean, when I was 26, I look back now, I didn't know anything about anything.
Oh yeah.
I'm married about a year and a half, almost 2 years at that point. Um, didn't know my hole in the ground. We were about ready to have a child, and I thought this was going to be the best, thing ever to happen to me. I was invincible.
Do you ever
You know,
do you ever think that there should be like a minimum age requirement for marriage?
I don't know of a minimum age requirement, but I give something to the religions that make you go through marriage classes.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the religions out there, they make you go through like a class to see, to give you kind of lessons on things you should be doing or not doing when you get married.
Now, looking back now, because you've been married twice, and
Yes.
you're currently in a long term relationship.
Longest relationship I've ever had was with Noreen Kurtz.
Oh wow, that's very nice. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like it's been 8 years, but 8 years is a very long time.
Yeah.
What advice would you give the younger you about getting married? Would you tell him to wait? Would you tell him not to be in a rush? Like what advice would you give younger Jason?
Oh man. Oh gosh. Well, I think the first thing is, the first thing I would say is, don't rush anything. Don't rush anything. At that time, I thought, well, this is the normal thing to do. I'm in love. I'm in love with the person. Might as well get married.
Ah, say la mode.
Get that all done. That was like the normal thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first thing I would tell myself is, really truly know a person better than just from a physical standpoint.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think we place so much on the physical, and we assume that it will physically compatible, then everything else will just fall into place. And that is one lesson that relationships are more than just the physical.
That's very true. So, do you think you listened to that advice at that age?
No, God, no. Because my parents told me that. My parents, although they weren't against the person themselves, they felt like I wasn't ready to get married, and they felt like that was the wrong person to get married to, mainly because of the age difference. I mean, we've had an episode on that, but the age difference was 14 years, and they thought that it wasn't. There was a hurdle there that I wasn't really prepared to tackle on.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, I think that I was told, I didn't tell it to myself. Like I didn't come back in time and tell it to myself, but I was able to hear it from my parents, and I didn't listen.
Yeah.
I didn't listen at all. I just, do whatever. And I
Yeah.
think you said it earlier, how many young kids will listen to their parents and make acknowledgement that, maybe I should value what my parents tell me a little bit more than I do.
Yeah, and I think that might be the key, and nobody ever wants to admit that. Oh man, my parents were right. I mean, I still have a hard time because my dad has a hard time separating the fact that my brother and I are adults from his kids. It's like we'll always be his kids, but he keeps trying to talk to us like we're underage kids, like we're still children.
Right.
And he doesn't understand that, we're 39, 40, and 37. I forget how old Tom is. I think he's 39. And
okay, that's going to be one on the notes at liquid_EP. That will
yeah,
be on the notes.
yeah, I'm sure it will be. But he still treats us like we're kids, and it drives us crazy because we have enough life experiences on our own now to where, if we're talking about certain things, we don't need advice. We're talking you as an adult to an adult, not what would you do in this case? Please help me, Dad. And he struggles with that because he wants to help. He doesn't want to see us fail, but at the same point, we're just relaying information more than asking for advice.
Well, I think maybe that's the biggest thing that people have a problem with being told, well, you should do this, you should do this, is, are you telling me this because I should live my life like you live your life? Or are you telling me this because this is a universal knowledge that you're getting, that it doesn't matter if I was your father, your best friend, this advice is sound advice?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I were thinking of, a couple things, like take a moment, Scott, and think of 3 things that you've learned in the last 20 years that would be beneficial to tell your 20-year younger self.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the first thing is, if you're going to find a partner, select carefully. Not love,
Yeah.
not lust, but select them based on how they make you a better person, how they make you want to be more than what you are. Because being with someone who doesn't at least fulfill that for me, you're missing out on the kind of relationship that could, not only last a lifetime, but leave you fulfilled for a lifetime.
Oh, I'm sure. For me, it would be take your time in school, man. I don't think people realize that I finished college in 3.5 years, and I should have taken my time. My dad had the idea that full-time students are 18 credit hour plus students, not 12 hours like they were just coming to at that point. So my brother and I both had to have 6 classes every semester the whole time we were there, plus summer school if we wanted help with rent. So, I would have told younger me, take your time, man. You know what? It's cool. Dial it back some. Take the extra semester or 2 and enjoy yourself while you're there.
One thing I would have told myself too, on the education side, is that getting a degree in a particular field does not mean that you're going to finish in that field.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, so when you're taking your classes, let's say for business, recognize that business degree is not limiting you to just business. Or if you're going for a teaching certificate, that maybe that makes you a good salesperson, or maybe that makes you a good public relations speaker. You know what I mean? Like, don't be limited that, well, I have a business degree, so I have to get into business. Recognize that with your education, all it is a learning opportunity for other areas to round out your skill sets.
Yeah, I'd have told myself to go out and make those friends, do those things that you think you don't want to do, and never hurts to try it. Just go out there and just see what happens. It's take that risk. Go to that party, take that job, do the things that scared you at the time. Man, they're not as bad as you think they are.
Yeah, I think the last thing I would tell myself is, be honest with yourself, that take ownership of the good and the bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we have no problem taking all the praise for when things go well in our lives, but when something goes bad, everyone wants to blame someone else. Oh, well, this person fired me and that was on them, and these people didn't want to be my girlfriend or boyfriend because they were the problem. And recognizing that in every relationship that I've ever had, the common denominator is me.
It's true.
And
that is true.
And to look at that and say, Jason, you take ownership in everything that's good or bad, and be okay with that. Live with your own decisions, and maybe, like they've always said, sometimes the best successes are derived from failure.
Oh, that's it. I've learned and survived by my mistakes, and I'm glad I've made them. In the long run, the things that I've experienced as a result of my choices, some have been fantastic, and some have been subpar. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Uh, but if I could give myself some advice for who I was way back then, I might tweak things a little bit. I don't know if I'd necessarily change the path that I took, but I might make a few different choices along the way.
Okay.
You know?
So I told you a couple of the things I would say. Was there anything different that you would say to yourself?
No, man. I would tell myself, take your time with school. You don't know what the real world's like. Enjoy it. Enjoy, and I don't want to sound like the Baz Luhrmann "Everyone's Free to Wear Sunscreen" song, but like, enjoy the power of your youth. You don't realize what you got until it's gone. And on top of that, just don't worry about the girl too much. They come and go, and I learned this from you. There are 3.5 billion other women on this planet. You will find one. So quit pressing so hard.
Yeah, that's good.
Just things like that, little things that you tweak along the way. Not to take things personally. I can't say I do a lot of things differently. Because if I did things differently, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in today. And I truly do enjoy the position I'm in today.
Well, if since we have a little time left, obviously, you know me, I did some research on the top 12 things that people have agreed or have voted on to say they wish they knew than what they know now.
We are going to get knocked for having a list, but let's go with it.
Well, maybe it'll be because a lot of these things I'm sure are probably things that we've already discussed, but this is in no particular order, so it's not like we want to tell ourselves. This is just a top 12 things.
Okay.
Your parents aren't as dumb as they look, basically. So, we would want to tell ourselves, our parents might write us and give us a hard time, but they're only doing that, one, because they love us, and two, they've been through all the same things we've been through.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of agree with that. Like, we think our parents that can't understand what we've been through, yet they've been through all these things.
Oh, yeah.
They've gone through all these struggles, and sometimes they were right. Like, sometimes I think back at advice that my mom and dad gave me. It was right on the money. Had I listened to it, it might have changed, for the good, maybe for the bad too, but for some good for sure.
What's next on the list?
The breakup that feels like the end of the world, you won't remember in a month.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that one completely. I think if more people took that to heart and realized that's more true than not, they would be a lot better off in this world, and they would probably be a lot happier, a lot quicker.
And it's hard though, because for so many people, the struggles of breaking up and we've had like 4 or 5 episodes on that.
Yeah.
It is tough. It is hard to deal with. But maybe that advice is that there are 3.5 billion women on the planet.
Yeah, you'll find one,
or you'll find someone else.
You'll find someone else, man. Don't take it personally. Go have a beer, shake it off. You'll be fine.
What do you think of this one? This next one. Nothing worth having comes easy.
I couldn't agree more.
So, like young kids, they want it now. They want it immediately.
You appreciate it so much more, though, once you have to work for it, and once you get what you've been working toward, it's a whole different level of appreciation versus having it just handed to you.
Yeah, and I think about that all the time, that the things that I have worked my butt off for, and whether it's saving for something that I wanted to buy, or suffering through, something like diets, or suffering through, running every day and getting tired. Once I got to the point where I was successful with what I tried to do, you're right, it was sweeter because I worked for it. And so I think that's a good lesson to tell the young myself is, hey man, you're gonna have to work for things. It's not gonna come easy,
Yeah.
And we take it for granted. Like, we look at basketball players, we look at professionals, business people, and they show their success, but
they don't show the struggle. They don't show the toil.
They don't show all the hours and months and struggles and failures and successes that they had to go through to get to where they are. We only show the end result, but we just assume, oh, they've had it easy. Well, no, that's not true. Like Michael Jordan, great basketball player, but how much work and time and energy and sacrifice did he put in to become the best, you know?
Well, and that's what it is. You don't see people succeeding right away, and if you do, it's because they're working behind the scenes with what you're not seeing, and that goes such a long way.
Number 4 was mistakes are a part of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's kind of a no-brainer that we're so afraid to fail that that we have to remember that failures are what makes us succeed the next time, or
Well, it's part of the learning process. If you can't figure out what you did wrong when you did something wrong, you're going to repeat that mistake time and time and time again. That's why they make you watch film in sports, so you understand what you did wrong to be better and be prepared for the next game.
So here's a question. So what's worse, being so afraid to make a mistake that you don't even try, or not learning from your mistakes and committing it again and again and again?
Ugh, that's like Sophie's Choices suck. Yeah, I, I would think it's not even trying. I would have more respect for the person that tried and tried and tried and wasn't smart enough to learn than the person that just said, I don't know how this is going to work, so I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, how many decisions of life are made simply because we're so afraid of what the outcome could be that we just don't even want to make the mistake versus trying, and if we fail, we fail.
And that's exactly it. It's, and I'll admit I've done this before. I've looked at some projects or some other situations like I don't want any part of this, so I'm just going to walk away. And that's more about self-preservation than trying to learn. I just didn't want to do it. I had no interest in it.
Okay.
If it's something I'm clearly interested in, and I want to try to figure out, I don't care how hard it is, I'm going to try to figure it out.
Well, and you know how this world, I mean, how many people fail once, and then never try again because it's too hard, I failed.
Yeah, and that comes with age and experience too, because that was a struggle. My ex's son and I would go round and round and round over this. He had this brilliantly great heart, but his confidence was very frail. And if he didn't think he could do it, he'd try it once half-assed, and then he was done. He would make sure he failed, and he wouldn't do it again. And it would drive me nuts because he knew the kid could do it. He just had it in his head he didn't want to do it. So you have to let people go at their own pace, though, too.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And not everyone's going to be at the same pace. Some people are more than willing to try and fail and try and fail and try and fail. And other people, don't want to do it, or they want to, make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. Either way.
Oh, yeah. It takes all kinds to build the bridge, and, just because they're not trying to figure it out right now doesn't mean they won't, but you have to let them put at their own pace. And you have to have someone that knows how to communicate with you help you.
The fifth thing that people would tell their younger versions of themselves: take pictures, lots of pictures.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, I would not tell myself to take pictures per se. I think the logic that they're trying to use, though, is take a picture of something that's a special memory, because before you know it, that special memory or the person that you're taking the picture of might be gone.
Yeah.
That might be the only thing you have left.
Yeah. And that part I get. We're in such a cell phone based society now where everyone's got a camera handy and everyone's always like, when's the last time you went to a concert and everybody's got their phone out because they want to film the show live? And I've done this. They want to broadcast it live. They want to record so they can watch it in later. How many times have you actually gone back and watched that concert, that song during that concert because you thought it was so badass? You spent more time trying to record it and get that great angle than actually appreciating what these artists are doing in front of you.
And, I don't know. I think I would tell myself not necessarily to take lots and lots of pictures, but cherish those special moments.
Yeah.
And contemplate those special moments as they're occurring, instead of, because to me, like you said, taking a picture of a special moment and never looking at it again doesn't cherish the moment. Whereas if you embrace it in your heart, you're going to remember it for the rest of your life because it was, a special day. Like you and me, we met at a Halloween party at the Kurtz's house.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
I still remember to the day. I was Ron Burgundy. You were Maverick.
I was Maverick, yeah.
And on my phone, it says Maverick. It has not changed. I remember that day and the fun that we had that night much more than any picture could sell it to me for.
Oh, yeah. I have so many more memories of the things we've done, whether it be camping, going on cruises, sitting around listening to you play guitar, just going to the bars, living life, and that's That to me is the important thing. I'd rather have memories of living life than record them, hoping I'm going to look at them again later on.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. Sometimes it is nice to see the progression of children. So taking pictures of kids, it probably means more to me than taking pictures of myself or selfies.
Yeah.
But
Well,
so,
and it's different when you have pictures of like your kids, because you want to see when they're little and see how they grow and whatnot. Those are different memories, because the taking pictures of them opening presents on their birthday or Christmas. Everyone always inevitably has that picture of themselves naked in the bathtub. Every parent has that picture.
right.
And some parents have pictures of themselves in the bathtub with a kid, which is completely weird.
Yeah.
But that's a different story for a different day.
There we go. Number 6, money doesn't actually matter. Stop worrying so much about the cost of things and just enjoy every once in a while, treat yourself to something and not worry too much about the money. But this one's kind of a broad, I guess, reminder. I would think that, money is not going to buy you happiness. Money is not going to pay for the things that are going to make you happy or successful. Sometimes some of the most successful people financially I've ever met are the most miserable,
Yeah. And I agree with that completely. It's money doesn't buy the happiness. Man, you gotta find that fulfillment within yourself. And I know when you're younger, you want to work hard to make those inroads to make your mark in the world. And I think I would tell younger me, man, you're gonna make your mark. Just take your time and enjoy the ride.
right.
I'll be honest. I've had way more fun in my 30s than I ever did in my 20s. I've done more cool things. I've got to experience so many more interesting people because I think I'm just more comfortable with myself. I'm just in a better mental place in life. It's not all been fun either. Don't get me wrong, but I just think the experiences you have as you get older make you appreciate the things that you've done when you probably didn't realize at the time what they were.
Well, I mean, I think about that one Christmas where I had nothing. I had no money. I had nothing, and I had to get Christmas presents to my friends. And I wrote up 20 things I love about you, put it in a little dollar frame, and gave it to the people I cared about the most.
And that still sits on my dresser.
I think Dean still hangs in his house. Noreen still has hers. My mom has mine up in her house. I mean, and that didn't cost me any money, so money didn't matter. That would have been better than me spending $1,000. Well, maybe not $1,000, $100. Maybe not. Okay, maybe spending $50.
Yeah, right.
Number 7, it doesn't matter if someone doesn't like you.
Absolutely, and we'll finish the conversation on this one because we're getting close into the show. But you're right, dude. It doesn't fucking matter if someone doesn't like you. That's their fucking loss. And I've recently learned that just on my own through age and time. I don't know if you've noticed this about me, but I'm very loud, and it's not that I intend to be. I have a very loud, carrying voice, and I'm also kind of opinionated.
No.
Yeah, I know.
No.
But it doesn't matter if people like you at the end of the day, because those who do like you will still hang around.
Well, I think that the message to me that's important to tell the younger self is not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone is going to understand you. It's okay to beat to a different drummer, and it's okay not to be the most popular person, or have acceptance to feel your value. Your value will come from without.
Absolutely.
So, the only other thing I would say on that is, especially in today's world, so much is based on whether people like you, whether they think you're attractive, whether they think you're smart enough. And I don't know how I would tell myself 20 years ago to not worry about what people thought of me. But this is a tough one, because I think that so much of our value is based of whether or not people like us.
Well, I think
break
you just
through
have to
that would be a tough thing for me to believe in if I was 20 years younger.
I think you just have to tell yourself it gets harder, but at the same time it gets easier. Things are not always going to break your way, and that's fine. You don't want them to. You want things to happen the way they need to happen, so you can just be a better version of you. Just be open to learning.
Well, that's
tell us your thoughts on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. We want to hear what you guys think. What advice would you give younger you? Let's go back 20 years and ask yourself, what do you want to tell the 20-year younger version of you? So maybe things might turn out not, I don't want to say completely differently, but just tweaked a little bit.
Hey, some of the stuff might be just, hey, I want you to avoid some grief. Like, don't worry so much about, don't worry about so much about people liking you. Just be yourself and be true to yourself. Maybe that'll cause you less pain or less struggle, or, even that little piece of advice may not be life-changing, but maybe it'll be life-altering to the point where you live a little bit better.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. So on that note, before we close out the show, I do want to make one prediction for the summer. The song of the summer, I just heard it on the YouTube. A little band called Weezer covered Africa by Toto.
Oh, I like Africa.
And everyone loves Africa. And it blew me away. I'm not a Weezer fan, but those guys brought their A game and crushed it. So if you haven't listened to it, you can go find it on YouTube. Check it out. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at Liquid Carnage. Talk to Tom at Liquid_EP. We'll be back next week for another show. But Jason, go ahead and take us home.
Well, the other thing I'm going to tell you, Scott, you're only 37 years old. So any advice you give yourself 20 years ago, you could give yourself now, and 20 years from now, you could say, man, I'm so glad I gave myself that advice. So don't think it's never over. It's never
season
over.
20, season 21 of Liquid Carnage.
That's right.
We'll talk about it again.
It's never over. So, hey, thanks for a great show. Thanks for listening. We love you. We appreciate all of your input and you guys listening. That was Scott. I'm Jason. And as always, if you never know quite what to say, just have yourself some Liquid Carnage.